Good day, it's June 30th, 2023. The U.S. Supreme Court released two major case decisions this month that has significant impact to the 2024 elections and our democracy. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban.
The U.S. Supreme Court issued its decision on June 8th on the case titled Allen versus Milligan that challenges the redistricting map in Alabama, which has 7 congressional districts, but only one of those districts has black majority, in spite of the fact that there are more than 30% black voters in Alabama. This case, which is titled Allen versus Milligan, for which Evan Milligan, a black voter, is the lead plaintiff, sued the Alabama Secretary of State, now being held by Wes Allen. In the earlier litigation of the case, it was Merrill versus Milligan, when the Secretary of State was Mr. Merrill. In a historic win for voting rights, the court ruled in favor of black voters, affirming a U.S. District Court order striking down Alabama's year 2021 enacted congressional map for violating the Voting Rights Act of 1965 for diluting the political power of the black people and requiring that Alabama redraw its congressional district. The vote was 5-4 in favor of protecting the voters under the Voting Rights Act. How are the political power of the black people are diluted? That's where the word racial gerrymandering comes in. Gerrymandering is a political term whereby voters like black people, Hispanic, and other minorities are purposely being assigned a district in a map where they will no longer be the majority of voters in that place they live, and makes it harder for a candidate belonging to these groups to get elected. It's like divide and conquer. This idea was a brainchild of a Republican strategist in the 1980s that surgically divides black people and minorities in a map to prevent concentration of voters belonging to their color of race, making a candidate that wants to represent them guaranteed to lose in the election. Of course, the idea was also adopted by the Democrats in states where the legislature is controlled by their party. But the brazenness of this practice are mostly in deep red states, where black and Hispanic politicians only win in local elections in urban areas to represent them in the local government, but with none of this little representation in the U.S. Congress. That practice is called racial gerrymandering.
In another case, the U.S. Supreme Court, in a surprising vote of 6-3, with more conservative justices Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joining Chief Justice Roberts with the 3 liberals, Justices Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, with Chief Justice Roberts writing the majority opinion in the North Carolina case Moore versus Harper. This case also has far more importance in the 2024 election and future elections because it removes the power of state legislature as the sole interpreter of state election laws without the oversight of the state courts. The subject is described as a fringe legal theory called independent state legislature theory that is being pushed by Republican lawmakers, that the state legislature alone can interpret state election laws and enact laws without oversight of any state court. That may include the legislature sending the electors of their choice to vote for a president of the United States, a candidate of their choice, even if the candidate was not the true winner, deserving that electoral vote in the Electoral College. That means a state legislature controlled by Republicans can just send its chosen electors to Washington to cast a vote in favor of a non-winner in the presidential election. Of course, this is what others believe as their goal in pushing this legal theory. By a vote of 6-3, the court rejected the independent state legislature theory. The court's decision in Moore versus Harper closes the path to what had been a radical overhaul of America's election laws. according to an article in Politico magazine, describes that a particular robust reading of the theory, which the court turned aside, had empowered the state legislature to make decisions on all aspects of elections, from congressional lines to how people register to vote and cast a ballot, without any opportunity for challengers to contest those decisions in state courts under state laws or constitutions. Opponent of the theory that it could have led to unchecked partisan gerrymandering and laws that would make it harder for people to vote. So on this one, it was a big victory for our democracy.
In relation to the Supreme Court victory for black voters in Alabama, the governor of Alabama and a Republican issued a proclamation to call the Alabama legislature into a special session beginning at 2 p.m. Monday, July 17, 2023, to address congressional redistricting in light of the Supreme Court decision that agreed with the U.S. District Court in Alabama that the current congressional map is racially gerrymandered. In light of the Supreme Court decision that agreed with the U.S. District Court in Alabama that the current congressional map is racially gerrymandered and must be redrawn to protect black voters. That is a good development. At least they have to comply with the court decision. We will take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, the magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to the Falls. There is a disturbing story that took place last week that is just now getting attention, and a controversy how the U.S. mainstream media covers events when poor people from other countries are the subject. The uproar is about disparity of coverage. Our newsroom researcher Joe Buban first called my attention about the tragic incident in the Mediterranean Sea, a refugee ship that capsized and sank off the coast of Greece. At the same time, the tourism submersible or submarine that commercially tours passengers into the sunken vessel Titanic was missing. It was in the internet, posted by a foreign media outfit online. The Titanic submarine received news coverage and featured by all major television and cable channels, but none of the 78 refugees from Pakistan, Egypt, Syria, and Palestine that was crossing from Libya to Italy on the overloaded fishing trawler was mentioned by any American media that day, until online news channel Democracy Now! Showed coverage and mentioned the disparity.
We begin today's show looking at the Titanic disparity and how the world responds to maritime disasters. As many as 700 migrants are feared to have died in a shipwreck last week off the coast of Greece, but the stories received far less attention than the search for the 5 passengers aboard a submersible to view the wreck of the Titanic. On Thursday, search efforts for the submersible ended after investigators found debris near the Titanic at the bottom of the sea. It's believed the 5 passengers died in a catastrophic implosion. The 2 vessels were lost at sea 4 days and 4,000 miles apart. The 5 men who lost their lives on the Titan have been getting wall-to-wall coverage in the media worldwide. Meanwhile, the estimated 700 who died when the Adriana sank off the coast of Greece, mostly women and children, have been essentially forgotten. Passengers on the Titan were wealthy. 2 were billionaires. Each paid $250,000 for an adventure of a lifetime, a deep-sea dive to view the wreckage of the Titanic. Those crammed onto the ramshackle Adriana fishing boat were seeking not adventure, but refuge from war, poverty, climate change, or any of the many other life-threatening crises that force people to flee their homes with little more than the clothes on their back. They paid human traffickers some thousands of dollars to ferry them from Libya to Europe. Many of the passengers were from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Egypt, Syria, and Palestine. A multinational effort was launched to search for the passengers on the Titan submersible. Meanwhile, the Greek government's facing accusations that it could have saved the migrants aboard the doomed ship, but opted not to. The newspaper El País reports Greek authorities were tracking the ship for more than 12 hours and never activated a rescue operation even after the ship's engine broke down.
The incident finally got national attention when former President Barack Obama spoke of that same observation that Democracy Now! News anchor spoke about. The disparity of news attention between 5 people missing underwater, wealthy people with one believed to be a billionaire, versus the tragedy of many people who came from desperate places and embarked on a dangerous journey to seek safety and survival. A comment from the host of the online channel The Young Turks asked, "Has the corporate media lost its humanity for the poor and sufferings in other countries?" Here's a clip from President Barack Obama talking about that disparity.
There's a potential tragedy unfolding with a submarine that is getting, minute-to-minute coverage all around the world. And it's understandable because obviously we all want and pray that those folks are rescued. But the fact that that's gotten so much more attention than 700 people who sank That's
In the Philippines, according to the Associated Press, Philippine police backed by commando units staged a massive raid on Tuesday this week and said they rescued more than 2,700 workers from China. The Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and more than a dozen other countries who were allegedly swindled into working for fraudulent online gaming sites and other cybercrime groups. Brigadier General Sidney Hernia, who heads the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Unit, said police armed with warrants raided and searched the building around midnight in Las Piñas City and rescued 1,534 Filipinos and 1,190 foreigners from at least 17 countries, including 604 Chinese, 183 Vietnamese, 137 Indonesians, 134 Malaysians, and 81 Thai nationals. There were also few people from Myanmar, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Nigeria, and Taiwan. It was not known at the time of the report how many of the suspected leaders of the syndicate were arrested. Police also raided another suspected cybercrime base at the Clark Freeport in Mabalacat, Pampanga province, north of Manila, in May this year, where they took custody of nearly 1,400 Filipinos and foreign workers who were allegedly forced to carry out cybercurrency scams, according to the police. Some of the workers told investigators that when they tried to quit, they were forced to pay hefty amounts for unclear reasons, or they will be sold to other syndicate. Workers were lured into working for the syndicate group with promise of high salary offers and great working conditions in Facebook advertisements, but later found it was all a lie. This treatment of workers also falls into the category of human trafficking or slavery.
The mutiny in Russia by the Wagner Group, the government-sanctioned mercenary group that Russia had used in many countries where they support regimes that are Russian-friendly, had subsided for now. Prigozhin, who is an oligarch and owns the mercenary group, agreed to exile in Belarus on a deal brokered by Belarus President Lukashenko. The mutiny continues to provide the world a picture that the once feared and said to be the second most powerful military in the world, Russia, is a myth, untrue. And now even Belarus president was fearful this week that Russia was on the brink of collapse and had ordered his country's military to be on a full alert. The Russian invasion of Ukraine exposed the many weaknesses of the Russian military, such as ill-trained fighting force, inferior military hardware for ground combat and mobility, and troops' morale. With the mutiny, the Wagner Group's pull out from Ukraine, the Ukrainian forces continue to push on its liberation of their territory that has been occupied by Russia since 2014. Many military analysts are reportedly saying that with Russia weakened and President Putin's situation become exposed to possibility of a coup to oust him, the Russian position in Crimea is in its weakest and could soon be ripe for Ukrainian assault to liberate their territory. We will be back after a break. Please stick around.
Welcome back to The Pulse. CNN this week released the damning tape of Donald Trump talking about his possession of a top secret document while at his golf course in Bedminster, New Jersey. When the transcript of that audio tape was published more than 4 weeks ago, Trump went on television interview denying it, saying there were no documents, that they were just a bunch of papers, no classified documents. It may have been the new evidence that prompted the special counsel Jack Smith to immediately file that 37 indictments of Donald Trump in a U.S. District Court in Florida. But this time, CNN released to the public the actual audio tape. Here it is for you to hear.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, you know, against you.
Well, it started right at the
like
beginning.
when Millie's talking about, oh, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in. That's right. Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time, you know.
she'd send
Private
it.
email.
No, she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Please print.
By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
it. See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, you know, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, here I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
In the same Trump criminal case in Florida last week, Special Counsel Jack Smith asked Judge Eileen Cannon on a motion to the judge to put the list of witnesses in the case to be under seal and asked the court to start actual trial on December 14th this year to allow possible delaying motion and other pretrial preparations from the defense. But this week, Judge Cannon denied the motion to seal the witness list and for such must be made public. And in a surprising move, Judge Cannon wanted the pretrial process to start immediately in early July and start the trial sooner than December this year. Just as a footnote, Justice Department rules forbids putting a defendant on trial during an election period when it is already 6 months close to an election, like in 2024, where the defendant is a candidate. And there are still criminal charges to be filed against Trump this year and likely to go on trial before the prohibition period. That case is criminal in nature and could be filed anytime soon by Georgia's Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis in Atlanta, Georgia, a state criminal case involving election interference.
Now let's talk about climate change.
In a report by Reuters, the Panama Canal will expand restrictions on its largest ship crossing on the waterway, one of the world's busiest trade passages, the Canal Authority administrator said on Wednesday, citing shallow waters due to drought. The measure follows a series of depth restrictions in the 50-mile canal since the beginning of the year due to drought, which authorities had hoped would ease down by the start of the Central American country's rainy season. The Panama Canal, whose ship traffic from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean accounts for 3.54% of the global trade. Container ships and oil tankers goes through the canal for years since its opening. The new restriction, which will take effect on Sunday, limits container ships' depth to 43.5 feet or 13.3 meters, which means they must carry less cargo or shed weight in order to float higher. The previous maximum draft was 44 feet. For us who are not in nautical navigation, it means the bottom part of the ship below the sea level, or the part that you don't see because it's submerged in water.
We are out of time, folks. Join us again next time. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and thank you for watching.
And I'm Sam Buban. Thank you for watching. God bless your week.